In this video, I'm going to use the character panel to make adjustments to a text layer. Then I'm going to take the text layer and I'm going to convert it from a vector graphic to a pixel graphic. And then I'm going to apply some tools to that particular layer, like the gradient, for example. Let's first begin by grabbing the type tool. And I'm just going to go ahead and click and then type in the word gradient. Now you'll notice that mine is black and I've got Poplar's standard black in my options tool panel here, and I've got the color picker set to black. It's always going to choose the last font selection that you've made and the last color selection that you've made. But let's say you want to make some changes and you don't see some options here in the options toolbar. You can actually go over here to Windows and then you want to select character. This allows you a lot of options at your fingertips. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this character panel and I'm going to click, drag, and drop it and hover until I see that blue line just beneath my history panel. When I let go, the character panel will now be docked here, and all I need to do is click on and it will fly out. Now in this panel, I can make a number of different adjustments. For example, if I highlight the word gradient and I go over here to the font size, I can change this from 45 to 100. Here I can also make some changes to the tracking of this text. The tracking, for example, allows me to make changes to the amount of space that's between the letters. If you take a look at the word gradient now, and if I go to change it to -50, you'll notice that the text is extremely crowding up upon itself. I can also change it to +50. This now separates the letters a little bit further. Tracking can be a useful way to play with text to create a little bit of tension. Another thing you can do is you can adjust the vertical scale. Again, you can play around, and just to demonstrate, I'm going to change the vertical scale to 150. I'm going to tab out, and now I'm going to select the horizontal scale. And just to play around here, I'm going to end up selecting 175. I'm going to move to the Move tool and just place this in the middle here so I can see it a little bit better. Just to show you a couple of other quick things that you can do, I can select this, which will bold it, italicize, all caps, or small caps. And there's a whole bunch of other things that you can do to experiment with the character panel. Now I currently have black text. What I can do here is I can change the color here with the color picker tool, and I can pick a different color. But what I really want to do at this point is I actually want to change this layer from a vector graphic, and that's basically anything that's a shape, a solid shape, or a font. Those are all vector graphics, which means they can be resized to any size without losing any kind of pixel quality because they're actually resized using mathematical formula. The great thing about vector graphics is they never lose resolution, but you can't use any of these tools. So what I want to do is I want to convert this to a pixel graphic, and to do that all I need to do is right click on the word gradient on that layer, and I want to rasterize the type. In rasterizing the type, I'm going to convert this from a type layer to a pixel layer. You'll notice that the thumbnail no longer has the type tool, it actually has a thumbnail. That's because this layer is no longer a vector graphic, it's now a pixel graphic. The next thing I want to do is I want to actually go over here back to the gradient layer, and I want to select over the thumbnail and right click, and then I want to select the pixels. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pixels and I'm going to apply a gradient. The first thing I need to do is go over here and set my foreground color and my background color. I'm going to click on foreground color, open up the foreground color picker tool, and I'm going to pick one color. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to click on the background color, open up the layer, click on another color, and click OK. You'll notice that it hasn't done anything, but that's because I haven't actually told it to apply a gradient. What I want to do is I want to tell it to use a gradient using these two colors. So I'm going to go over here into my tools panel and look for the 12th tool down. It's located just beneath the eraser tool, and if you've used previously the paint bucket tool, it's nested with the paint bucket tool. The gradient tool will allow me to make adjustments in here from one color to another on a given layer. In the options bar, make sure linear gradient is selected. That's this icon here that looks much like the tool here. use the down caret in the gradient editor box to open the gradient picker. Now what I want you to do is I want you to select the foreground to background option. And if you hover over, you'll notice it's the first tool on the left. Now click anywhere outside the gradient picker to close it. It doesn't look like anything happened here. So now with the selection still active, I need to drag the gradient tool from one to another area. In this case, I'm going to drag it from the bottom to the top of the G. When you let go, the letters in the word will go from the foreground to the background color. If you want them to go in a different direction, you can do the same thing. And to deselect, all you need to do is Control D or Command D for those of you on a Mac. And I now have a gradient set on a layer that was previously a vector graphic and now a pixel graphic.